I'm Ryan Alcantara, Career Services Manager here at USC Rossier School of Education, and it is my pleasure to be here with LAUSD representatives to talk and give some context for our students that are planning to participate in this year's career fair. And Craig, let me hand it over to you and give you a chance to introduce yourself.
Okay, well, thank you for having us, Ryan. I'm Craig.yokoi. I'm a recruiter with LA Unified, been with the district for about 26, 27 years. I can't even remember. But one of our main jobs is to go out there and to meet all of the wonderful people at the different colleges and to recruit them and bring them in to become teachers with LA Unified.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for being here. Jessica, glad to have you here too.
Thank you for having us. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jessica Chung. I too am a recruiter for LAUSD, so happy to be here. So as a recruiter, our job is to bring all the talent to the district, and I'm happy to support in any way to make that happen.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for spending some time. And as I shared, we're ramping up for our career fair here for our education students. That'll be held on Friday, February 23rd. And I wanted to, we obviously have a lot of new teachers that haven't really been through a search process. So in many ways, I want to target that community. But in the context of that, can you talk a little bit about the employment opportunities for teachers in the region and in particular LAUSD in this coming year?
You want to go ahead and take that one to start, Jessica?
Sure. So we are hiring. We hire all year round, but we are definitely hiring for our math positions at this time. So we encourage a lot of, or all students to apply, and the chances of securing a position look really good right now for all candidates.
So I just want to add, like historically, we probably hire about 1,500 plus people every year. So as candidates come in, the best thing they can do is kind of start the process early. Don't wait until you receive your credential. If you wait till you have your credential, you're going to be too late. Start early. You can start looking for positions. With 1,600 campuses in LA Unified, there are going to be positions all around the district. We can't tell you specifically of like that there's just one position that we would be perfect for, but basically we can kind of like help direct you to our regional areas, and hopefully you can find a position that'll suit your credential as you're looking.
Great. And so we have students that are completing their student teaching assignments, and so they should really be looking on the website now and beginning that application process.
Well, you should start searching or start the application now, because most people are going to be finished up in April. We don't want them to wait till April. Although, we want you to know that USC is not the only school that we're working with. We're working with tons of schools. So there's a lot of graduates that are going to be coming out during the spring. So applying early so that you can start kind of getting ready to look for a position is probably the best thing you can do. What we do is we kind of have this date, we call it April 1st. April 1st is kind of the date where all of the new candidates' information is released to schools. But we want you to know that even though we release information about available positions at that time, like Jessica said earlier, hiring takes place all year round. And you don't have to find your position for next year in April or May. It's going to go April, May, June, July, August, September. We're going to be looking to fill positions during that whole time, because it's constantly changing.
Great. I think it's helpful for students to understand that that time frame. So, in addition to that kind of schedule of applying, what should students expect through the interview process at LAUSD, kind of from applying to starting as a new student? Starting as a new teacher, what does that experience look like?
So initially, once the very first step for all candidates is to apply at teachinla.co/apply now. And then we will determine initial eligibility. And once they meet that, then they will then go off to search for a school site position. And they will meet with principals individually. And once they are, if a school should decide that they want to hire them, then they will hire them, and then they will then onboard with the district for that position.
Great. And does that interview process, I assume it includes some sort of kind of classroom presentation as part of that? Or does that vary?
So we've kind of changed things in the last year where you might hear rumors about different things. So previously we had people coming in doing lessons, you had to write essays, you had to go through a large number of interview questions. We've kind of changed things to right now. Anybody who's coming in, what we're going to have them do is complete an application. We're going to be looking at all their references, all their background, all their information, and then from that we will determine their eligibility. And then any other kind of more refined questioning that's going to occur will be interviews that occur at the different schools.
Okay. So there's a kind of that preliminary process with the district and then the individual school, and they could likely have an expectation of doing a lesson plan at that level.
Correct.
Right. So as students prepare for the K-12 career fair, from your perspectives, how can a candidate stand out? And do you have any tips as well for students to try to make the most out of that experience?
I think it's always best when their candidates are passionate about teaching and wanting to teach and wanting to serve. And that usually shows through their presentation of themselves as well as their, resumes. And so I think it's good when they show that concerted effort, willingness to, go volunteer or spend time with students, and that so that shines through. Intention, I guess, and purpose is what I'm always looking for.
I would add, I think everybody talks about the elevator pitch. You got 30 seconds to sell yourself. Be ready. So be ready to talk about, things that you've done. But also the one thing I would tell you is that as you're coming through and you have your resume, look at your resume, make sure it's clear, make sure your objective is clear. A lot of times people come out and they're like, here's my resume, and it doesn't even tell you what they want to do. You could say, maybe I want to be a teacher, but it doesn't tell you. I want to be an elementary teacher. I want to teach upper grade. I want to teach lower grade. Be very specific. Do you have bilingual authorization? Or you want to teach math? You want to teach math? You want to teach middle school, high school? What's your subject area that you want to specialize in? So being as specific as possible really helps us to help refine or helps us to share your information with schools when we're looking to help you fill the position or your dream position. So details help.
Great. So certainly kind of in prepping for the career fair, that elevator pitch, you're right, as students are introducing themselves to the school district, making sure they're making a strong impression. And that's something that students should be ready for, because the next step is going to be interviewing and certainly articulating that in more depth.
Yeah.
And I
Great.
think, like Craig said, they need to think about what they want. So they should already have that idea, just like Craig said, of what they want, instead of it kind of, when it comes to the interview, it's kind of like, I think I want, just kind of like that. They should know, they should think about all those questions beforehand and know.
And it sounds like, because my next question is, differentiating yourself in the application process. And Craig, you kind of hit on that a little bit, of making sure you've got a statement of purpose as part of your resume, and that's more than just I want to be a teacher. So I'm going to put some things out there. As a student represents themselves, that should be kind of communicated by their work experience. Like if they want to teach biology, hopefully they've got some experience doing that. You want some sort of consistency, I would imagine, between their experiences and what they're articulating that they want to do. Is that right?
Yes. And then, as part of this review, also, they want to make sure that, they have their references in there. Master teachers are always going to be required reference or an administrator. So, you know, to a certain extent, I think what anybody coming in needs to remember is that their first interview is happening right now. Their first interview is their student teaching experience, where, you know, if they're doing a great job, that school's going to try and get them. And if they're already in the district, wonderful. You know, if they're not in district, please come see us first because we want to hire you too. But, you know, that's your first experience. So do a good job there and then just carry that over as you go through and you start looking for different positions.
Great. Well, and I'll kind of along that lines of kind of articulating what you want to do. I might imagine in certain circumstances we've got a new teacher that may be leaning in a couple different directions. You know, and I would want to make sure kind of students understand kind of navigating that a little bit. I mean, I think there's a lot of different kind of perspectives you might put, like I really want to be at this school or in this area, and that you may be a little bit more flexible on the grade level that you're teaching. Do you find that it's good to communicate those kinds of challenges that a student may have or an applicant may have as they're applying?
Yeah, you know, I think anybody comes out. I call it kind of like your first love. When you're student teaching, people fall in love with those schools. It's their first love. They don't know love at all. They don't know where they want to go. They don't want to go anywhere else because they think the kids are great, all the staff is great, you know. But I really find that no matter where you go, you're really going to enjoy the experience. You're going to enjoy the kids, the community, the other teachers. So being open always helps. I think sometimes people want to be like next to their home. I want to teach at the school that's 2 blocks away. But you know, the problem with that is when you teach at the school that's 2 blocks away, you see them everywhere you go. You're going to see those kids at the store, in the neighborhood. You're going to be washing your car. They're going to come talk to you. They're going to come to your house. I had some kids that used to come to my house because I lived kind of close in the neighborhood. And I would have to tell them, get away from my door, get away from my door, you know, just for fun. You know, I don't really mean anything by it, but you see them everywhere and you don't get that privacy. So sometimes being a few miles away might be better as well. So really look at the whole situation. And, you know, if you want to keep that privacy in your life, distance yourself just a bit. You know, you don't have to go super far, but you probably want to go like 5, 6, 7 miles just so they're not everywhere you go.
Right.
And I think it's important to be very flexible, because you never know. You might think that, you know, you might be dead set on, you know, I have to teach fourth grade. But you never know, and you should keep an open mind and be very flexible. I'm sure the school would appreciate that as well. And that may lead to more opportunities along the way.
Yeah, that's a good point. And so while you look for a sense of purpose, it's not like I want to teach fourth grade. It's you know, I want to teach a younger age group, and this is the experience that I've had, and the willingness to be open to other opportunities is certainly important, both geographically as well as age level. Good. So my next question, you know, is more in the interview process. So how do you recommend students prepare for their lesson plan presentation? Are there any tips that you have based on your experience on the other side of the table?
So going back, right now, we're not requiring them to do a lesson. The only thing they're going to do is pretty much complete the application, make sure they've uploaded all of their documents, references, everything. And then from there, we're going to do an initial review. And then once we're able to determine their eligibility, if they're eligible, they can start reaching out to schools, and we will also share their information out with schools.
Yeah, and I understand that, but if you've had experience kind of on the other side, when you've seen presentations, because I imagine that might be an anxiety point for some of our students, and knowing that they'll do that when they interview with the schools, it would be helpful just to, like, what are you looking for typically?
So if you're going to be doing a lesson for school, the one thing I would tell you to do is don't try and teach like, you know, the hardest thing possible. You don't want to teach like, you know, organic chemistry, end of the year. You want to teach something basic, you know, teach something like basic math. something that's within your grade level that you're familiar with, something that everybody will understand as you're going through the lesson. Don't try and be too detailed, but make it fun, make it exciting. Use technology along with hands-on. So making sure that you're hitting all the modalities and just make it as exciting as possible. You can take this a simple assignment and make it engaging, but don't just try and come in and just be like, Bueller, 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 because people, if your interviewers are bored, then they probably won't like your lesson.
Great. Very good. Very good points.
And I suppose it wouldn't hurt for you to present, practice, right? And like you could do it in front of your family and see what kind of questions that they come up with or any critiques that they have. That certainly can't hurt, so that you see it not only as you as the teacher, but you can see it from the student's perspective as well.
Very good point, Jessica. I would agree. And, a willingness to practice amongst each other. I mean, you have a cohort that's going through the same experience, and so, that's a great way to help one another as you go through that process. Thank you. And I think there is also that sense of, I want to make a great impression, so I'm going to shoot for the stars in terms of, and Craig, you're right, like this is not the time to do that. Do something that you're comfortable with, that's engaging, and that the content well. Wonderful. So what are some common pitfalls or things candidates should try to avoid, either in their application materials or through the interview process, based on your experiences?
I think for the interview, I think it's important that candidates answer the question. Oftentimes, I think they go in with a preconceived notion of, this is, one of the first things they're going to probably ask me is a little bit about myself. And then so when that first question gets stated, instead of you answering the question, oftentimes I'm encountering candidates who just go and just totally disregard the question and go off somewhere else. So definitely answer the question, definitely listen. And in terms of the resume, definitely proofread. Make sure that you have everything you want to say that's being said, and things that you don't want said, not said, because oftentimes they'll have one resume and they might be applying to not just teaching positions, but other positions. It's definitely not one size fits all.
Great. Thank you, Jessica. And just a reminder to our students, we have the VMOC program, and that's AI that can review your resume, catch all those typos and those kinds of things. But if you're creating an objective and it varies somewhat based on positions, make sure you're updating that for the position that you're applying for. Okay. Moving on then, what kinds of professional development support should teachers and new teachers in particular anticipate at LAUSD?
So support can vary depending on your subject area. Usually when there's like new texts or new initiatives that are coming out, you're going to get trained, by the district. At each individual school site, depending on the need of the community and the school, you're going to have professional development that's going to be developed there. And if there's certain areas where you actually need support and you're not able to find it at the school, you can always reach out to a principal, and they can help you to contact local districts or the larger district for support from some of the staff that are working within that subject area. And then there's going to be different things that are going to also be available at through different colleges. Just you have to look, find things that are of area of interest where you need help, and then talk to your administrator to see if that's something that you can attend. You can't attend everything because we don't have all of the money in the world, but usually if you can make a good case for something that you need based on the needs of your students and yourself, you can usually get to go through these things.
I completely agree. I think administrators definitely will love the fact that you want to, better your teaching and better yourself professionally. And there is no administrator who will not listen to the needs of especially a new teacher, let alone all teachers. You just have to, you just like Craig said, you have to look and you have to see what's out there. And there are plenty out there.
Great. I appreciate that. And I'll also just mention, you know, to our students, there's lots of activity at USC. The dean does host a number of talks, and our various research centers are host talks and have some incredible work that they're doing in the community. So many times students in our MAT program, you know, are very focused while you're a student, and you can't always take advantage of those. But as you transition to alumni, you have access to those programs and that research, and encourage you to connect with those as well. Wonderful. Do you have any other advice for our students as they apply for their first teaching jobs?
It's a lot of patience, flexibility, willingness to learn, I think is my 3 words of advice.
Great. Thank you, Jessica.
I would say apply now, apply now, apply now, apply now. Don't wait. I think too many people, they wait till like they have their credential. By then it's too late. Most of the positions are, positions are already being filled. Apply now and then wait. You can start looking for positions. The other thing I would say is that do your due diligence. Look at all districts. Now I'm going to tell you that I love LA Unified. I want you to work for LA Unified, but I also want you to make sure that you're making a choice based on your best interests. So look at everything. Look at all your benefits. Look at your work days, any other required things that you're going to have to do. When you look at salary, see how that's broken down. A lot of times what happens is people will go for the largest salary and then find that they have all these out-of-pocket expenses that they weren't aware of. And it actually might be less than if they had gone somewhere else. For LA Unified, one of the great things that we have is we think that we have a very competitive salary, and we're in the middle of raises. They're continuing on. I think we got about another 14% that's still coming from a 21% raise. That's number one. And the other thing is we have benefits that are included for the candidate, significant other, kids until they turn 26, and there's no out of pocket for those things. So looking early really helps you to take the time to do that due diligence. And just make sure that you're making a good decision based on you and your family. And, the other thing is we have tons of opportunities. A lot of times people think, hey, I'm going to go to the small school district because I want to be, big fish in the little pond. It's better to be the little fish in the big pond because we have so many opportunities for you to move, not only as a teacher, but to move into administrative roles and into other leadership roles. And, for me, I started off as a classroom teacher and have had so many different roles and experiences in a district that led me to human resources. So think of it as stepping stones that you can use to not only better yourself, but to better the community and service our students in the best way possible. And last thing is we have, if you don't know and you need more information, we also have office hours that we do a couple times a month. So we have flyers out there. We're going to share it with you, Ryan, so everybody can see it. If they haven't seen it, they usually get sent out through USC, but we're also available if anybody has questions. And it could just be questions in general. We want you to come to LA Unified, but if there's questions regarding us or somebody else, we're happy to answer any questions. Do what's in your best interest.
Well, I'm so glad to hear that. And I do encourage our students, don't hesitate reaching out if you've got questions. Just really quickly to kind of clarify that application process. I mean, applying now, I imagine throughout the spring, new positions would get posted. So, as students log into your website, they're able to kind of create a profile and select those specific positions they want to apply for. But probably every week, new positions are getting posted. So it may be something that students should be looking at that on a regular basis. Is that right?
So we try to keep our list as current as possible, and it's constantly changing. The one thing I want to tell people is that as you're looking at the open positions, these are our official openings. But there's going to be schools that say it's April, and let's say Jessica has told her principal that she's going to retire at the end of the year. Well, the principal can't post that as an official opening, but they might be starting to look for someone to fill that position. So contact schools that are listed, contact schools that are not listed. Keep your search open to anywhere, because the more active you are, the better chances you are of finding your dream position.
So would it be appropriate for students to share like a resume with a principal if they're looking at a particular school?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Once you've gone through the process, if you've been deemed eligible, I think the best thing you can do is reach out to as many schools in any way possible, because
Yep.
the people who are going to be working hard for positions are going to get them first. So if you have to, email, call. If there's a school you love, I would dress up and go visit and say, hey, just want to see if you're hiring, if you're looking for anybody. Here's my information. Keep me in mind.
Great. And so just, submitting that application and sitting by and waiting is not the best route. And if you're really interested, doing that reach out, and I'll say, at USC, we have a lot of leaders throughout education, but certainly LAUSD included. So it's also managing that network and building those connections, and all, oftentimes are connecting students with principals or superintendents that have that are USC alums. So look forward to continuing to do that. And so just along those themes, kind of targeted to our students, making sure you're being as proactive as possible in building and managing that network. If it doesn't help you in this job search, it's going to help you in future job searches. So it is an ongoing process. But I appreciate that recommendation. Anything else you both would like to share with our candidates?
I think you've hit a lot of, if not all the points, but I just want everybody to know that Craig and I are more than available one-on-one and to support and to help. So please reach out to us.
Yeah, I think the last thing I would share is just, even if you think you're going to get a position at another school district, you want to start an application and you want to look around anyway, because if for some reason that falls through, then you already have a backup plan. But if you wait to initiate your backup plan in, like, let's say, July or August, because last minute things fell through, it might take you a few weeks to a month to get your application reviewed. So by doing it early, it really, really helps to keep the process of faster.
And that's a great point. I mean, the interview process is a two-way street. Students will find things as they go through that interview process, or you may want to work at a school because of the principal. You've heard great things, but principals also move. And so there's all of those factors that can go into it of you're right. Just don't say like, this is the one place I want to go. Applying to multiple campuses and being flexible as you go through the process is really important. Well, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing some time and insight. And I'll reinforce that notion that you both are available, and we'll make sure to share the information on open houses. Ask questions, take an active role in this search process. It's a lot to balance, along with student teaching and completing your coursework. But the more time you invest, the more successful you'll be through the process. So again, thank you so much for making some time today, and look forward to seeing you at the K-12 Career Fair that we'll be hosting on Friday, February 23rd.
Okay, sounds good.
Great.
Thank you.
We'll be there.
Thank you. Thank you
Okay.
for watching, and fight on.